I'm with Dr. Stephen A. Brody here in his offices, medical offices in La Jolla, California, San Diego. And Dr. Brody, you've just come out with a new diet book, the Blue Zone Diet. And there's a lot of diet books out there now. Tell us a little bit about the Blue Zone Diet and what makes this diet book a little bit more special or different than some of the others that are already out.
Well, people often ask me, why would I put together a diet book when there are so many diet books and there are so many other quote-unquote more important things to worry about? Well, for one reason and for one reason only. I think after you read this book, you'll understand that virtually every diet book ever written is invalid, should be discredited, and should be tossed out the window. Why is that? Because every diet book ever written, even to this day, lumps apples and oranges. When Dr. Atkins wrote his book, or Dr. Ornish wrote his book, or the Zone Diet, or the South Beach Diet, all patients were taken in, all comers were included. We now know from a study of over 40,000 people that the way we metabolize fat and carbs and proteins falls into one of four categories. And the correct diet for you to reduce weight, reduce cancer, and reduce heart disease depends on which category you fall in. But all of these other diet books, they just basically took overweight people without knowing how they metabolize fat, protein, and carbs. And I can tell you that if you're in the wrong group for this particular phenotype, then if you go on a low-fat diet, you're risking your health. If you're in the exact opposite phenotype and go on a low-carb diet, you're risking your health for both cancer and heart disease. So please take this into your consciousness and awareness. Now, why do we call this the Blue Zone Diet? First of all, this has nothing to do with the Zone Diet, and it's purely a coincidence that it's called the Blue Zone Diet. So people ask me, what is the Blue Zone? The Blue Zone is a term coined not by me, but by epidemiologists who study the 8 or 9 places on Earth where virtually everyone lives to 105 or greater. And not just living in wheelchairs or nursing homes, but living with vitality, living with normal sexual function, living with full power and full exuberance and normal cognition or mentation, without Alzheimer's disease or bone fractures or cancer or diabetes or obesity or leukemias and lymphomas. This is so important. These 8 places on Earth have been designated blue zones. And we now know from a careful scrutiny of these locations and these communities the things that they all have in common that contribute to the longevity of the people who live in these locales. I have not been to all 8 locations yet. I've been to 3 of them, and I'm going on a trip in November, and I invite people to join me in Asia to visit one of the blue zones. But it's based on this information and based on the data in my own clinic where I've tested all 4 of the phenotypes that we can now very clearly tell people which diet will optimize weight loss, which diet will decrease cancer, which diet will decrease heart disease, and most importantly, which diet will give you the greatest lifespan with a normal quality of life in terms of bones, brains, sex, and normal intestinal function. This is so important, and I invite you to read about the Blue Zone Diet.
That's awesome. Now, I know you've got a free newsletter that gives out tips on the Blue Zone Diet. What is the website address that people can go to sign up for your free newsletter and get more information on the Blue Zone Diet book?
The website is called thebluezonediet.com.
Awesome. www.thebluezonediet.com. So to get more information and to sign up for a free newsletter with more tips and information, go to thebluezonediet.com. Dr. Brody, thank you very much for your time today.
You're very welcome.